Good morning. This is Maria Quattrone with Be the Solution podcast. And this morning I welcome my guest, Kristin McFeely. Welcome, Kristin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Maria. It's been
I'm
a
so
while.
excited to talk to you.
I wanted to be in a business that I did not have a ceiling. Take a pen and a piece of paper, draw a line, draw another line next to it. In 365 days, if you drew 365 lines, you started here with one line, but look how far you've come.
That's my little clip about the podcast. It's one of my favorite books, Darren Hardy, The Compound Effect.
Yeah, that's a great one.
We're actually reading that right now in the sales training. They just finished the book. I think it's a valuable tool for new agents when they come into the industry to really understand, the value of the compound effect and everything, doing this every day, learning a little bit more to getting a little bit better and a little bit better. So you've been in the industry now for a long time, more than a decade and a half, right?
Yeah, actually this year I think will be my 17th year, which is crazy.
Yep. Yeah. Just myself 18, just 18 this year. So I remember when you got into the industry.
Yeah, I feel like you and I actually had kind of a similar path. If I'm not mistaken, I might have your story wrong, but didn't we both kind of start off in like a small South Philly brokerage? Then we both ended up at Coldwell Banker in Old City, and that's where we met. And then we kind of went our separate ways from there. But yeah, I remember because was it Mercury?
Yes.
Is that where you started? Yeah. And I was at DeGennaro Real Estate, which doesn't exist anymore. Yeah, basically across the street from you. On Porter.
Yep. We started at this little place it was actually 100, the land title building, APM Real Estate. And then that broker decided he didn't want to have any real estate agents. Could you imagine that? He wanted to be a developer. So that's what he does. He develops real estate now, but he was a great first mentor, actually.
Yeah.
So you had a similar situation. You started with a smaller firm in South Philly.
Yeah.
And ended up at Coldwell. And then here you are running the team at Compass.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And that's been you were one of the first brokers to move over, right?
Yeah, we were the very first, actually. People thought we were kind of nuts when we decided to do it, but I was kind of going through some personal stuff, and it was I was looking for a change. I was looking for something different. And, I had a team that really supported those decisions, and we were like, okay, let's just try this. And I remember the first few weeks, we were the only people in the WeWork office because we didn't have an office yet. And everyone was like, why would you ever, leave Coldwell to go to a no-name brokerage, or a brokerage that had no recognition in Philly? They did in New York, but, no recognition, no name recognition here. Why would you do something like that? And I don't know. I just kind of trusted my gut, and I just thought, well, what's the worst that can happen, really? That's how I look at things a lot of times. It's like, what's the worst thing that can happen?
That's right. What's the worst thing that can happen? I remember when you made the move. I actually thought it was a smart move for you, and going in that direction, because I was very familiar with Compass in New York, and they were in LA. A friend of mine, who was at Compass at one point in LA, and lots of good stuff going on. So it worked out. The pioneering move.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so.
Right?
I mean, when I think back, it was like, my team was, I think we had like 11 people maybe at that time. And we were the only people in the office. And then I remember about 2 weeks later, Margot and Mary's team joined on the Square Real Estate. Yeah. And they're so phenomenal that I was like, okay, we're on to something. Like,
yeah. And you're like,
yeah. And then like a few weeks
after, great decision for you, right?
Yeah, and then like a week later, Sean Kaplan's team came over, and by that time, I was like, okay, this was a smart decision. We're good. We've got really good people that are starting to come over, and then it was really fun, kind of at the beginning when it was very small. Now it's enormous. I think there's like 2,500 agents in the Philadelphia marketplace,
Wow.
which also
Grew really
includes-
fast.
Yeah,
And
New Jersey
this
and
year-
Main Line.
What year is it now? 4 or 5? I can't really keep track of the years.
So end of June, we started on June 28th, and that'll be 4 years. So this June will be 4 years, which has flown by. It's crazy.
Well, with the pandemic and everything else happening, I mean, what's a year or two we lost?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It's great. It's great. Well, congratulations on all your success. What's your team look like today?
So we're a team of 18 right now, and that includes myself. That includes Dan Janetto, who you know,
Love
because
him.
he's manager at Coldwell Banker.
Yeah, he was great.
And he's my business partner. And then we have a transaction manager, we have a marketing manager, and then we have a part-time operations person as well. And so all in, we're 18.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Yeah.
So-
And Dan's wife, Missy, is on our team as well. And they sort of head up like a little kind of New Jersey division. I'm not licensed in New Jersey, but we have a couple team members who are. So we have a little Jersey division now within the team as well, which is nice.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw Dan talking about property. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago. He's like, this would be a great Airbnb. Maybe it was on the river in Jersey.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool.
It was like a real, not even an Airbnb, like a B&B. Like it was like a
Oh
hotel.
yes, that's what I meant to say. A B&B.
Yeah.
Coffee's still kicking in
I know.
over here. So Kristin, take me back. Like you just didn't poof, and all of a sudden you're this like successful team in the major Philadelphia marketplace, right? Like you started back in 2005. What transpired? What happened to get you into the real estate industry?
Honestly, so I went to art school. So I have an art and design background. That's kind of my real true passion. I was working out of college in at an architecture firm doing their marketing, and they decided to get rid of their Philadelphia office. They had an office in Western Pennsylvania as well. They decided to get rid of the Philly office, and I was laid off. And I'd never been laid off before.
Oh, wow.
What am I going to do with my time? And I was collecting unemployment, which was helpful at that time. But I was in my late 20s, and I was young, and I had plenty of things I guess I could have tried to do. But I had just bought a house and in South Philly, and I really liked the process. I mean, I found that it was really easy. By the way, the house was $75,000 back then. That was in 2000.
On which street?
On the 2400 block of South Juniper. So Juniper Street between Broad and 13th and Rittner and Porter. And I love that neighborhood.
75 grand.
Yeah. The kids are calling it Lower Moynihan.
Should have bought 20 of those.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any money. So that was my max. That was totally the max. So I had gone through that process. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was kind of, it was kind of an interesting process. And I just thought, well, let me get my real estate license while I've got this downtime and see what happens. And I reached out to my real estate agent, who I bought my house through, Frank Giacovini.
Yes.
He's wonderful. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, I don't know if you even remember me, but I'm thinking of getting my real estate license. And he basically said, get it and you have a job here. And, at the time, I'm so used to, applying and interviewing, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how great, I have a job already, not realizing that, in real estate, everybody kind of wants you to join the brokerage. That's sort of the thing when you get your license. But so I didn't interview anywhere. I didn't really research much. I was just like, great. I liked Frank. I loved John DeGennaro, and just kind of was like, great, this is my home. So I started in 2005. It was awesome because I could walk to work. My office was on Broad and Porter. It was, homes back then where you would be so lucky if you got a $200,000 sale. I mean, everything back then, I pretty much focused strictly on South Philly. Everything then was like, 100,000, maybe like I remember getting like a 175 and being like, really excited about it. And the pricing was just it was just a completely different time.
You had to sell a lot of houses to make money.
You really did. You did. But I didn't even know what money was at that point either. Like I didn't even know, I felt like I was making a living and I was happy and, I was bartending at night and, I was in my 20s. So that was kind of my life and it was good. And then while I was there, I met, Dana Siciliano. She was an agent at that office and she and I kind of partnered up for a bit of time. And the thing now is that Dana's son Enzo just got his license and joined our team, and he's
my God, how cool!
Yeah, so he just joined our team last month.
Is she still in the industry or
not? She's not anymore. She's not. But yeah, so kind of things have come full circle. But anyway, so it was great, and then just kind of, I guess I was there for 3 years, and really, I think at that point, my reason for leaving, because I loved everybody there, I think the reason for seeking something else out was just I wanted to get into a different market. I wanted to also get into like Center City and, just other neighborhoods were starting to happen at that time. Back then, nothing really was happening. So, but neighborhoods were starting to kind of like come up and, we were going out in different neighborhoods and I was like, oh, I'd love to sell in this neighborhood. This is really cool. So I ended up going to Coldwell Banker in Old City. And that's where I met you, actually, and also met Dan Janetto.
2006 or 7?
Were you 2007?
I started in 2006.
At Coldwell? Yeah. Yeah.
It was in September of 2006. I remember very clearly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I came over in 2008 and you were like intimidating. I 100% remember that, you being there and being like, oh my gosh, Maria Quattrone. And I think our cubicles were upstairs and I think you were like either next to me or maybe one down, but I just remember always hearing you and your scripts and everything like that. I remember very clearly and admiring you. But yeah, so I was there for 10 years. Dan was our manager. He and I became really good friends. He eventually left to go do kind of corporate stuff at Weichert in New Jersey.
Weichert, right?
Weichert. Mm-hmm. And it changed the dynamic of the office, I think, a little bit when that happened. But yeah, he eventually did that. And then through the years was sort of feeling like he didn't love the corporate world. And so we kind of every once in a while would have these conversations like, what if we did something together? What if we, at one point we even discussed maybe opening like a little, small boutique brokerage of some kind. And, just trying to kind of do something different. I'm always trying to do things differently, whether that works all the time or not. That's to be seen, but I'm always trying to kind of do things differently. So we had talked about maybe opening a little brokerage and then I'm a big conference person. So I know you are too, Maria. So I go to Inman every year. And
I know. How do I not see you at Inman?
I feel like I did see you. Because there's a million people there.
Once I saw you.
Yeah, there's a million people there. But yeah, so I've been doing that for years.
Will you be going this year?
I will in April. Yeah. I'm planning to anyway, unless something crazy happens again. But yeah, so I remember like kind of following Compass then and just for years and just kind of like watching them and thinking, and then I actually had a friend who was a broker in New York. He actually worked at the time for Douglas Elliman and he bought some investment properties with me here in Philly. And he said to me, I know you're going through some stuff and you're looking for a change. Did you hear that Compass is coming to Philadelphia? I don't know when it's happening, but did you hear? He was actually the first person who put me in contact with someone from Compass in New York. And we started having conversations. So I'd say I probably was in conversations with them for the better part of a year, I would say, before they decided when they were coming and what was happening and, what was going on. And I think in the last, month or so of our conversations, it was pretty much like, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to, make a move and see what happens. Yeah, so that's kind of my story. It's funny. It kind of runs parallel to yours a little bit, but of course you opened your own place, always looking for something different. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually didn't, when I left the company, I didn't think about it. I just said, I'm just doing this. I was already thinking about it, and I just decided not even to talk to anybody and to just open and do my own thing. And I actually didn't know that back before that I would ever do that, because it wasn't something that I wanted necessarily to do. And then all these things happened, and I was just like, well, I think I'm going to have my own company.
What made you look into like a franchise, if you don't mind me flipping the
So
script now?
I just figured from a time standpoint, it made sense. Remax is a well-known brand globally, with like 4,000 plus offices, and people know the balloon. And so it's one of those things like, okay, so maybe in the downtown area and some of the other areas at the time, people recognize my name, but maybe all over the Philadelphia metro market, they didn't, but they sure know Remax. So that's why I decided to go that route. And it's been a great ride for us. I mean, we actually do get a lot of business because of being the Remax when people are searching, online. So it ended up working out, and it's good. Listen, when you start something new, there's always so many different things that happen, and it's like reinvent yourself one time, two times, three times.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this third time's a charm. So hopefully,
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. That's great. And then how many years are you there now?
I have had the company. We celebrated our 8th anniversary in January.
Oh my God, 8 years. That's great.
Yeah, and we just opened a mortgage company. So
I saw that. That's wonderful.
yeah,
That's wonderful.
yeah. So we're working on getting that off the ground. And as you know, with any new project, it's like you're starting pretty much all over again.
Yes.
With processes and systems and people and doing all the things that you need to do to make it work. So
yeah.
how do I know that's something that you do really well, is with people and processes. How did you decide to come up with the name of your team, instead of going like, the Dan and Kristin's show?
Yeah, I've never been one for just having my name, because I feel like what I like about the name that we did come up with, the Philadelphia Home Collective, is that we truly are a collective of people that all really do collaborate and work together. And it's so corny, and I know everybody says it, but we really are like a family. I have a work family, which is amazing. And I'm so lucky. And I have, 8 people who basically said, I don't know where we're going, but we're following you. And I feel like a very deep, like I have to do right by them. I have to do right by everyone. So I feel like our name really does kind of represent who we are. We really are a collaborative, and we are a collective. I think I've never been one for, when it comes to marketing. So marketing is kind of my thing. That's like the thing I'm most passionate about. Like Dan handles operations, finance. I have no idea what's going on behind those scenes. I trust him with all of that. But my thing is like people and marketing. And that's always been what I've been focused on and passionate about. So with marketing, even back in the day, I think even at Coldwell, my team got started on social media really early, before a lot of real estate agents were doing it. But I always had this way of I don't like a lot of self-promotion. I like the promotion of the group, I guess, if that makes any sense. And I also like telling the story. I'm a big storyteller. If anybody who knows me knows that that's kind of what I'm all about in my marketing. So I love telling the story of my clients, because at the end of the day, when there's a big settlement, it's their day. Nobody cares about, they're happy I got them to that.
Nobody cares that you sold another house, Kristin.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are like, they post their commission checks, and they're like, oh my gosh. And so like, this is why we have the reputation that we have as real estate agents, where they compare us to used car salesmen. I mean, it's all about the client. It's all about their experience and taking yourself out of it. And I think I've always done that with my marketing. Hopefully, that messaging is clear. And so that was really the, why I came up with the name. It was just kind of like,
I love it.
This is, yeah, it's not about me.
You've had some good social marketing for quite some time.
Thank you.
And you were always told stories about your clients and the house and how the house. I think the house talks to you.
Yeah, agreed. And I love architecture. Like, I'm a big architecture junkie. I love, I love telling the story of the home. I love telling the story of the neighborhood, because a lot of times we get people obviously coming from other places, and you need to explain where they're moving to and what they can walk to and what's so great about this neighborhood versus this neighborhood. And
It's so true.
yeah,
We just talked about that yesterday in our sales training. I said, when you're talking about a listing, you have to write it as if the person lives in Naples, Florida, and has no idea what a Philly Pat's and Gino's cheesesteak is, right? So, and I look at that because we look at other properties in other areas, and you want to know, like, if you're not there, you don't know. So we have to be that guide.
exactly. That's our job. That's totally our job. It's to sell not only the house, but to sell the neighborhood and the city of Philadelphia. That really is what we're here for.
So speaking of that in the neighborhoods, uh, this market, I mean, it's been almost a year and a half of whatever this is.
Yeah.
And so how are you managing through it with your team and with your clients? Like, what are you doing differently?
Yeah, so COVID was, when 2020 was obviously a hell of a year for everybody. I've, again, like, to be on our team, we get a lot of people. I've never recruited, first of all. I do get people who ask about, like, joining the team and new agents. We typically don't bring new agents on, with the exception of Enzo, Dana's son. He's our only new agent we've ever brought on. But I feel like it's all about a culture fit to join the team. You just have to kind of fit with everybody. It's not about sales volume or anything. So I've never pushed the whole. First of all, I also hate hustle culture. I kind of really, really despise this whole idea of, like, get up, get at it, but put everything else aside. Like, I'm not great with work-life balance. You can ask my husband, but I try as hard as I can, and I want my agents on my team to have as good a work-life balance as possible. So when 2020 happened, I mean, we had people on the team who were, like, really depressed, like, really didn't want to go out and sell, and really were kind of, like, in a funk, and had gone through some stuff. And I think meeting people where they are as a leader is kind of the most important thing when you go through something that's like a pandemic. I never pushed anybody to sell more or to do more during that time. There were a lot of, it was emotional for everybody. Everybody was at a different place. The team ended up doing quite well that year. And then last year, again, we did well. But I think it was just a matter of, like, us kind of moving at our own pace and trying to get through it. Right now, and also following what the trends were. Like, I found in 2020, typically my business, my personal business, is about, like, 75% city, and then the rest, 25% suburbs. But it was 50-50 in 2020, because I had so many people, who I'd sold houses to a few years back, say, we were thinking of moving to the burbs in a few years, but maybe now's the time. We want a yard.
They moved up their move.
They moved up their move because they just needed the space, and maybe they don't even have to ever go back to the office again. So now they need more home offices in the house and all kinds of things. So yeah, there was a lot of, like, figuring out the suburbs and, like, learning a new market and, like, okay, we got this, let's figure this out. So yeah, it was just, like, it was a learning period, I think, really, for everybody, and emotions were kind of up and down. It was challenging. It's been challenging. It really has.
It's been challenging. I
Yeah.
know you have a lot of areas with the city. We have more inventory here, but you have a lot of areas with very little inventory, and a lot of agents putting a lot of offers in and not getting accepted. And I'm sure that's very difficult, having to navigate that, with not only just for the agent, but for the client, right? People are going to give up on this idea of a new home.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When you lose out,
and I think it's our job to keep them with their emotion in check and let them know that there's hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to,
Exactly.
and to lead them with there's hope and that we can find a way and we can be the solution for them, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, so here we are, it's February 2022. And what do you project? What do you think is going to happen for this year with your got the magic ball, Kristin?
Recall. I mean, I don't know. I'm struggling with inventory. Even in the city, I'm struggling a little with inventory. Like just finding. I hope that March brings more inventory. I was kind of thinking like end of February. Just typically our spring market starts after the Super Bowl. I thought, all right, end of February, we're going to start seeing more hitting the market, and that hasn't really happened. I do most of my business is either in the city, or I have several clients that are looking on the main line. There is literally nothing on the main line. Even last weekend, I went with clients who were up from Virginia, and we went and visited a few open houses, and the line just like stretched around the whole building. I mean,
Did you go to the one? Did you go to the one in Bryn Mawr on Saturday? On what is it? Oh my God, what's the name of the show?
I bet I did. I think that's exactly where we were.
It was 4 million too. I can't think. I went because. And
is that the one that did a ton of work? Is that the one that
it needs to be knocked over?
Yeah. So my clients did that one before I met them. Before I met up with them, they saw that one.
There was about, I don't even know, 30 cars parked and people everywhere. And
yeah.
I was like, thank God I'm not having to deal with this every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And like interest rates.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. Interest rates are rising, but I still think, you remember when we started in this business, like, we would run closing cost numbers for buyers at 7%. So, anything around 4 is still phenomenal. So I don't think that's going to deter people from buying necessarily. So I think it's going to be a strong year.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't deter. But I don't think that we'll see the gains that we did in 2021. We had 12.7% appreciation overall. So I don't foresee it going that high this year. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, probably not quite as high as last year. But I don't know. I feel like we're going to have a pretty strong year. I feel like as long as there's inventory, as long as there's something to buy, I do feel like we're going to have a pretty strong year this year.
So we have to be
busy beginning of the year, which usually is kind of a slower time. There's not much to do. There's, running around with people and there's not much to see, but there are people who are looking for sure. So I feel like it's going to be a strong year.
I think it'll be a strong year as long as interest rates don't go to like 6%. I think that'll be a challenge. And if prices continue to rise and rates go up, it'll be a problem. But I think the rates rising a little bit is a good thing. I think it'll help curb the pricing from increasing too dramatically and pricing people out of, even getting a house.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things that's important. And I talk a lot in our company about, maybe they can't get the first area that they want to live in because maybe the prices there are too high, and putting them in a neighborhood that maybe fits more in their price range just to get them into being a homeowner.
Right.
I think that's really important right now because the first time inventory is very, very low, and it's going to continue to be low. And with the new household formations that are happening, the prediction is that there will not be enough homes to supply for the new house formations to absorb. And that's a big concern, right? So it's more like that first entry level buyer than the second time buyer. But the second time buyer has to sell their house so the first time buyer can buy the house, and we have to find the second time buyer a house.
Right? It's just like it's the circle. So
It's circle. So what do you and your team do to find inventory? Are you doing some of like, I know, crazy old school things, or like the old door knocking, or
no? So I'm not.
But people still do that. People still do that.
Totally. Listen, everything there are. million ways to do anything. That's what I actually really do love about this business, is like you can be successful and get at it at so many different ways. Like there's so many different ways to get the same end result. But no, I've never been a fan or felt comfortable doing kind of like the cold calling and door knocking. And my team feels pretty similarly. We're big proponents of referral business, review-based business. We read the Ninja books. Like we're into like really taking care of our past clients, and that's really how my business has grown.
Do you do events?
We did, yes. So we were really into events. That was a big thing for us. We would do events quarterly, and then we do a huge holiday party. Typically in January, we'd call it our holiday hangover party.
Oh, that's
it was
good.
like after everybody, had their parties, so we could actually get a good show, a good turnout. But of course, the last 2 years we've had to cancel everything, so we haven't done a ton of events. But we are really big in events, and just really making sure that we're on top of past clients, and just being genuine about that too. Like I want to make sure that when we're reaching out to clients who have had some milestone in their life, like that, just making sure that we're kind of on top of all of that kind of stuff too. So our business is primarily referral based, and that's really how we've kind of got. And I think our team offers some things that are a little bit different too, just in terms of like I was interested when you said that you opened your mortgage company, because I opened a staging company as well.
You did? Tell us about it.
Yeah, it was the same time. So everything kind of happened all at once. Do you know Deirdre Affle on my team? She's been on my team forever, since the beginning.
Yes.
She's one of my partners, and then Emily Reddington is my third partner. But we kind of had the idea of starting, we had always kind of staged our properties out of just like furniture in our garages. And then we were like, we should make this legit. We should really do something here and rent a warehouse and really kind of try to make this happen. And so that started really at the same time as the move to Compass. We signed a lease for our warehouse in March and then moved to Compass in June. So everything was happening simultaneously. But I think that bringing that element into, our presentations and into our listings and that kind of thing just kind of adds like a little something that most agents aren't doing. So that's I always have my hands in 100 different pots.
I love that. So are you doing that for others or just for your clients?
Yeah, absolutely, for others. It started off just being something that we would maybe do for ourselves and for our own listings, but quickly it turned into other agents, and now that's the bulk of our work. It's mostly people, a lot of and agents from different brokerages too, not just Compass. So yeah, we're really lucky with that, and but I think that's something that makes us a little different, even just in our approach. Like my whole thing is always like, I love your be the solution kind of tagline. Mine is always like a life well designed. So I want everything to be like, and whether that's like work-life balance for my agents, or whether that's our listings have to look perfect before they go out and go live. And, there's just a lot of, that's kind of always running through my head, like a life well designed.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love the industry because there's so many different things that you could do.
Yeah.
With investors and do flips and, sell ugly houses, and you can sell beautiful houses, and you can sell condos, and you can sell big industrial buildings, which I love when we get to sell big industrial buildings.
I haven't done many of those. I've not done many of those.
Yeah, I love those. They're great. They're great. It's an interesting sale. It's definitely different, right, than the home. I call what we do resi-mercial. So we operate, you can handle the residential and the commercial, and most of the commercial is stuff like the big people don't, the real big commercial people don't want to do.
Right.
A $2 million sale to them is like, that's a headache.
Yeah.
But for us, it's great. I love that you have a staging company. What's the name of it?
It's called the Philadelphia Design Collective. So the real estate team is the Home Collective, and then the staging company is the Design Collective.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. How many, so there's the three of you that are the owners?
Well, we're the three owners, and then we have a warehouse manager, we have an office manager, we have another stager, and then we have 5 movers. So it's it's grown into a pretty substantial
Pretty good
operation.
operation.
Yeah. And we have a warehouse in Winmore, which is close to where I live in Chestnut Hill. So that's convenient. And we do all over the city and also the burbs and New Jersey as well.
Good. That's keeping you busy too.
Yeah, exactly.
When like, not that you need to be busier.
No, but I like it. I like it. I feel like when I'm not busy, that's when I'm worried. That's when I'm
So-
like,
So what do you think, agents should do when they start in the business? What is some good advice that you would give them? They just entered and, they're making their calls, they're calling their clients. Like, what events would you tell them to go to, or just,
I mean, I think what I would say now is like really do some soul searching and figure out what kind of agent you want to be. Because again, as we were both saying, there's so many different kinds of things you can do. There's so many kinds of homes you can specialize in, or commercial, or neighborhoods you can specialize in. And then kind of hone in on that. Maybe make yourself a list and kind of hone in on that. And then figure out where where you're gonna, because I will say this business can be very lonely. You can burn out very quickly. So really you have to figure out a way to make it something that you truly love. You have to. It's not about the money. It's about, making it something that you can be involved in for the long haul. So I would say, like, if you move to, like, for example, when I lived in South Philly for many, many years, then I moved to Mount Airy. My husband and I moved to Mount Airy. When I did, I was like, okay, I want to do business in my neighborhood in Northwest Philadelphia. I want to do Mount Airy, Germantown, Chestnut Hill. So I started sitting open, and I was a pretty seasoned agent at this point, but I started sitting open houses for other agents in the office who had listings up there, because I wanted to be known as the person who people saw at all the open houses. Even though they weren't my listings, I wanted to be known as that. So then I kind of started a small farming campaign up there. And then I, got involved in the West Mount Airy zoning board and did that every month. And so, like, figuring out, like, this is where I want my business to come from and where I want it to be. Then everything else kind of comes from that, if you know what I mean. And then you're also being super authentic to yourself, because this is where I want to be. This is a neighborhood I've fallen in love with. This is something that's special to me, and this is what I want to represent. So you're excited to represent it. You're excited to be a part of it. So yeah, I would say, like, previewing property, all the kind of obvious things, previewing as many properties as possible, sitting open houses for people. I mean, frankly, if you're a brand new agent joining a team, doing your research first and figure out what kind of team works in the area that you want to work and has the same, culture and the same philosophy and values as you, but maybe joining a team with some really good training would be a way to kind of start too.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent of teams. I think it is a very lonely business, and I think it's very, very hard for an independent agent to get off the ground all by themselves, especially the way that things move now so fast. Like, I explained that to the new agents. I said, well, when we started, I literally was ripping triplicates.
Yeah.
You had to meet the people to sign the offer.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
So
you had to go to
we-
offices to pick up keys, Maria. Remember?
Keys.
You would have to, like,
Oh dear God.
keys.
We're really dating ourselves. We had to pick
I
up
know.
keys. Then
Yeah.
the keys weren't there.
Mm-hmm.
Then, like, oh my God, I don't have a business card. They won't give me the key.
Right.
Like,
right.
Here's my ID. It's me.
Yeah.
This one particular office, they're on Pine Street. They never would give the keys.
Oh, I know the office.
It was tough. I would just sit in the car and be like, I had to tell the client I don't have keys to get in this 5-unit building. I'm going to shoot myself in the head.
It's the worst. The worst.
Right. So it's a whole different industry now. I mean, we have DocuSign, we have all these tools. So things move very quickly.
They do.
It wasn't like that. It was not, it was very, very different. If you didn't have that check with that offer dropped off, you had to hand deliver the offer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly.
So,
and even like presentation, I think, is so important, and that's something you would learn if you're, on a team that values that. Is like, in these days, like you were saying, things go so quickly and multiple offers. So if you have a listing and you get 5 offers on it, and one of them is just like, garbled papers that just come in half upside down, and the other one is like, Maria, I'm representing my clients here. Here it is. You're bullet pointing the offer. I mean, you're going with that one for the most part. You're going with the person that presents themselves well and will present their client well. And that's something as a new agent that I think sometimes get swept under the rug because you're moving so fast. So that's the kind of stuff that I would concentrate on, is like networking with other agents. Relationships with other agents are so important. And like just upping your game professionally in the way that you present yourself and the way that you present your clients.
I agree. It's super important, and not just even locally, but having friends in other markets and being able to throw ideas off of them, and having friendships. And you go to the conferences, and it's meeting up with old friends and meeting new friends. So
yep, I'm a big proponent of that. I love that.
What are your favorite ones that you go to outside of Inman?
Yeah, so we do Inman. I do Inman every year. I've been to a couple different ones. There's one that I really love that's called the Genuine Hustle Conference. I probably shouldn't even say it out loud because it's kind of like a secret one, but it's mostly women, and everyone's from all over the place, and it focuses a little bit more on marketing, and it's basically for agents who have been in the business for a while, and I get a lot out of that one. Just a lot of creative, like, juices are flowing when I come out of that. And I have notebooks full of notes. There was a period when I was doing a little bit of Buffini stuff. So I've been to a lot of the Buffini presentations and seminars. Gosh, there's been a lot. I mean, I'm kind of open to going to a lot of different things because I love the networking aspect of it. And I feel like even if it's a conference that's maybe not quite your speed, you always get some nugget out of it. There's always something you come back with, or you're thinking beyond what they just said and you're like, oh, I'll put my own spin on that. That's a good idea. So yeah. I'm always up for that. That's something I've really missed in the last 2 years, not traveling and doing that. Wow. Yeah. How about you? What are some of your favorites?
Well, I go to Inman. There's the Remax has a broker owner conference. I usually will go to that. My coach, John Cheplak, has a lot of events. So he usually does 2 events a year. I usually go to those. I was in the one in Tahoe. The other one I attended virtually this year in Nashville. So I've been with him for, over 3 years now. So great group of people. Made a lot of friends from that. And then, of course, now there's the mortgage conferences. So, I think those are the main ones that I go to. What's the marketing one called?
It's called the Genuine Hustle.
And it's Genuine Hustle. I think who puts that together? It sounds familiar.
So Stacy Staub out of Denver started it from Boston, Maine brokerage. She owns that brokerage. She's originally started.
Yeah, I remember her. I think from Inman.
Yeah, she's always on the Inman stage. Yeah, she's great. She's one. I knew that. She's fantastic.
Yeah, that's awesome. No, there's so many other ones that I want to go to, but
I know it's hard.
Can't be traveling every 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and how long have you been doing this podcast now?
In April will be 2 years.
Oh, that's great. So two members of my team, Bill and Dina, and I started a little podcast as well. We've got that going on the side, but we record. It's not a live. It's nothing like this. It's not live. Bill does all the editing, thank goodness, because.
Oh boy! So at least you have somebody on the team doing it.
Yeah.
And what is it called?
It's called Happy Hour with the Home Collective, and it's usually about every 2 weeks it comes out, and it's on like Spotify and everything. But it's just basically the three of us. We kind of divide into 3 sections. The first is sort of like just intro, like catching up with one another. We always we're big into happy hours. We always have a drink. We talk about what we're drinking, typically something local. And then we typically on the second So the second section, we have sometimes a guest, or a lot of times we'll have a guest, or we'll kind of talk real estate at that point. And then the third is sort of like Philly current events and just fun things around the city. So it's much more casual and like, just kind of three people hanging out.
That's cool. I love
We have a
that.
good time.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
You can
exactly.
pick whatever you want.
Exactly. Yeah, we have a good time with it.
Yeah, I have a new thing we're going to be doing with interviewing business owners, and so I'm excited to
I love
launch that. Yeah, we have it coming out very soon, so
That's awesome.
it's a whole nother thing. Of course, it's more about life, not necessarily real estate, but life and business owners and neighborhoods, and so it should be fun.
That's awesome. That sounds great. I can't wait.
Fun stuff. Well, you have to life by your design, right? That's what you said.
Yeah. Life by design. So it's like, that's what I said. Like, if I don't have a million things going on, I'm like, I worry because I think I'm most productive actually when I'm really busy than when I'm not, when I'm idle. I have a very tough time just like relaxing, like going on a vacation and like chilling out and relaxing.
But I see you go on some nice vacations.
Yeah.
I mean, go to Maine every year, right?
We go to Cape Cod, Massachusetts every year. Yeah, every summer. That's our thing. We do 2 weeks, and that's like, someday that's where I'll probably end up permanently. But yeah, we do that. We have a little cabin in the Poconos. We try to get up there when we can. And yeah, we definitely, we love road trips. We love to travel. And I'm a big like antiques person. So we love like getting in the van and just going on a road trip and picking up stuff along the way. And yeah, simple.
That's so much fun.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I like the road trips. I said we should get an RV.
Oh my God, I'd be so into an RV. I know our neighbors up at the Poconos at the lake, they're like sort of semi-retired, and they just bought this like massive RV, and they're like into it. They're going to RV shows and all kinds of stuff. And I have to say, like, it's kind of tempting. That lifestyle is a little tempting when you start hearing.
I'm a little tempted. I want to go to the national parks.
Yep, exactly.
There's so many beautiful places, here in America. We love to go to Europe. We're Europe people, so a lot of people go to the Caribbean.
Your Italy trips are amazing. I always see.
I love it. I love it. 15 times been there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Hopefully we'll be going somewhere to Europe this year. Italy, Greece. I don't 100% sure, but busy here right now. So focusing on moving things forward, and I could easily be jetting off here, there.
Yeah.
But lots of things to do. I agree. I do, like you, Kristin, I do much better when I have a lot of things on my plate. When I don't have enough things on my plate, then I tend to procrastinate.
That's true. That's true. Yep.
Yeah. But I have a lot of things on my plate, so I haven't had any time to procrastinate.
Yeah. That's totally true, because when you kind of have some free time, you're like, I'll get to that later. I've got free time.
Right.
I'll do that later.
Right.
Yeah.
You want something done, if you want something done, ask the busiest person and it'll be done.
Yeah.
People say, how do you do all these things? I go, I write them down in a book. I have my book right here because I took some notes while we're talking.
Yeah, exactly. I do the same thing.
I write it in my book, and then I make a little check mark.
Yeah.
It's done.
It's done. Exactly.
I get satisfaction from checking the little box, checking the little thing off.
Yeah.
Call me crazy.
No, I love it.
We got a lot of great restaurants in Philly. What are some of your favorites?
Oh boy, that's such a hard question. I love
top 3 or 5.
I mean, I love Italian food. And that is the one thing that I miss about not living in South Philly anymore. You could pretty much go anywhere and the food was amazing. So, yeah, I don't know that I have a favorite. I mean, because I feel like it's almost been a while. Like, we do a lot of like neighborhood bar kind of stuff, but we haven't been to like a nice sit down restaurant in quite a while, just because of COVID and everything else. But gosh, there's so many good restaurants. It's so hard to choose in Philly. I mean, I think one of my all-time favorites is Dandelion on 18th and Sansom. English style pub, like that's kind of my vibe. Fireplace,
Yeah.
cozy, yeah.
Yeah, well, he does a great job, Steven Starr, and it's
Yeah,
a great
park
restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
I love the saloon. I still love
I
it
love
there.
the That's a good one. That's a really good one.
Dante and
That's
Luigi's.
That's totally my vibe. Old
Yeah.
school, Italian. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Always feel good there.
Always feels good there. Yeah.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
Those restaurants. And you know what? It's been there a long time. And it's consistent.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's really important. Whatever business you're in, that you're consistent and that you're persistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's what makes a great real estate person, whether you're on a team or an individual, is being persistent and being consistent, and doing the right thing when no one's looking.
That is such a good point. Yeah. I mean, I think there's so many things out there now that HGTV has all these shows and Bravo and like $1 Million Listing, and you're just going to make it as soon as you get your license. And that's not realistic. And really, like, how you get good at this is by just working hard. Like, there is no other, it's like, you just have to, I treat a $200,000 listing the same way I treat a $2 million listing. Like, you treat the people the same. Like, you just work hard and do the right thing, and you just keep going. And consistency is the biggest part of it, because I think people, again, they get burnt out. They think like, why isn't this happening for me? I've been in the business for 6 months. Why isn't this happening? And it's like, it's a slow churn. It takes a while to kind of get yourself going. But there's a million ways to do it. That's the part I love the most about this business. It's like, there's so many.
I do know that there are, and I know one that works really well. It's called Work.
Yeah, exactly.
Work works.
Yeah.
If you connect with people and you talk to enough people, whether it's in person, on the phone, video text, and you get in front of them, it works. So
yeah.
I know there's no shiny object waiting to unfold and some new thing that's going to just poof.
That's exactly right.
So,
that's exactly right.
When things seem a little tougher, especially now with the inventory, back to the basics, do the basics work.
Yep.
Every single time.
Yeah, in some ways, I'm glad that we started when we did, like in the era that we did, because it taught you to still be doing it now after starting then. I think is kind of a testament to people who do work hard. There were a lot of us that kind of started at that time, and it was work, like a lot of work and a lot of just a lot of kind of blood, sweat, and tears. But then if you're persistent and you design the business the way that you want to design it, and work with the people who bring you joy and inspire you, then it's a pretty great business to be in. It really is.
It's an amazing business because it's limitless. You're limitless. You get to choose.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of it.
Yep.
It was so great, Kristin, to have you on the podcast today. You're amazing. You look great. I'm so happy for you and your success. Give Dan my best regards.
I will. I definitely will.
And I hope that we can see each other soon at some point in time when things get a little bit more, well, I guess.
I feel like it's starting to happen. And if you'll be in Inman in New York, I'll text you. Maybe we can meet up for lunch or something.
Yes, I would love that. Let's definitely do that. If not lunch, then like a cocktail after.
Totally. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I am blessed and grateful for your time this morning. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
And success to you and your team. And I look forward to seeing you. I'll see you in Inman.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Maria.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.